Welcome to NuttieBuddie Sports. Previewing the San Francisco 49ers.
Okay, guys, ready to talk about the San Francisco 49ers? Let's do it. Okay, we got two Niner fans here, so us three will have to get on them, otherwise they'll tag team on us. So let's start with Jack. Let me ask you first, what is the big question you have for the 49ers?
It's tough because anyone that is listening to any sports center station, any radio station, whatever, you look at the media and there's one question they put out: is Trey Lance the next Mahomes? Because they're always comparing it. And for me as a Niners fan, I don't like that, but I do have questions. Is this worth 2 first-round draft picks and more? It's a big question. What type of quarterback is he going to be? Is he going to throw over 3,000 yards? Is he going to rush for 1,000? What is this offense going to look like under Trey Lance? So that's my question.
That is a good question. Clint, what about you?
I had the same thing as I put for the Cardinals, except is Trey Lance going to be good enough to go to the next level? I'm not worried. Is he going to be good enough for the 49ers to win games, because we won games with Jimmy Garoppolo? So, and I know, I was, my friends will tell you I was a big Jimmy Jesus fan when he first came to the 49ers, and I drank all the Kool-Aid, and I drafted Jimmy Garoppolo over Patrick Mahomes in fantasy the one year because I drank the Kool-Aid, and, it's been all downhill from that. So it just, is Trey Lance going to be able to put enough together to sustain it in the playoffs?
Okay. Talon, what about you?
Yeah, it's along the lines of Trey Lance too. My biggest question is, can the wide receivers get behind a Trey Lance? There was some talk in articles and comments made by some of the wide receivers that tended to suggest that they might not think he's the real deal. And you don't really hear guys talking about that against their own team. And so I'd like to see how they can pick up that rapport as the season goes on. Can they really back this guy? Do they think he's the real deal? And then that will show in the play.
Yeah, Clint, or maybe I'll ask Jack. Well, one of you guys, maybe just flip your hand up if you know the answer to this. The guys on the team really like Jimmy G, right? Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, everyone loves Jimmy G. I mean, you have to respect the guy, but I feel the opposite. George Kittle has continued to praise Trey Lance from the first day he has entered that building. Brandon Ayuk is a favorite target of Trey Lance, loves him. The only one I haven't heard anything from is really Debo. Debo, he's coming off his, getting his contract and not wanting to run. But anyways, long story short, I think it's going to be okay. I think the team's behind him.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering how that transition would work from a quarterback they like, maybe. And Debo, I think, would just have a little bit harder time with chemistry with Jimmy G Trey Lance, because Jimmy G is more of an accurate passer, check down type guy, which fits Debo's game a little better. Chad, what's your biggest question for the Niners?
Are you going to run Debo into the ground? I love Debo. I just think y'all overused him last year. Even though he was a beast. I guess it's going to come into another segment too. But yeah, I just wonder, how much are you going to use Debo this year? That's something I want to know.
That's another good question, because they did use him a lot. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I was just going to say that was another question I had. And if you look at Debo's contract, there is clauses in there that reward him for his rushing touchdowns, reward him for rushing attempts, rushing yards. So to me, those running backs in the room aren't going to stay healthy this year. And we're going to see a lot of Debo. And that's going to be very interesting if he can play a full 16. Very, very interesting. So they're going to reward him for how he's been playing. How long can he do it?
Yeah. How much do you think? My big question is a Trey Lance one as well, but also I was wondering how much are they going to miss Mike McDaniels? They talk about how he was the guy behind the entire run scheme, the run game. That's the big thing I hope he brings to Miami. Also, how high of a pick do they want to give the Miami Dolphins? That's what I really want to know. How bad will they finish? Because the Dolphins have their number 1 pick this year. So I'm going to be no offense, guys, I'm going to be rooting against the 49ers because I think we lost our first round pick for tampering. I haven't really read up on that, but that's not good. So I need a high first round pick from the 49ers. So Trey Lance, here we go. Give it to me as a Dolphin fan. That's what I want. So okay, let's go to our favorite moves. Let's start with Clint this time. What was your favorite offseason move by the 49ers?
2 of them. The first one hasn't happened yet, but it's getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was signing Travarius Ward because they needed a cornerback. So those 2, I know Jack brought out, is Trey Lance worth 2 first-round picks. As we talked about with Russell Wilson, when it comes to quarterbacks, I'm go big or go home. And you're going to give Trey Lance 2 years anyhow. And if in 2 years Trey Lance isn't the guy, well, you know what? Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't the guy either. So, he just patchworked his way through. So I like both of those. You got the cap room. They needed a cornerback because, they have awesome front 7. Their back end gets a little leaky if you don't get there. So at least having one good cornerback will help.
Yeah, I had Ward down too as my favorite. Jack, what about you? What was your favorite?
Yeah, I completely agree with the Jimmy Garoppolo situation and what that's going to help us do, having a rookie quarterback, the contracts we can make, moves we can make. We can be a decent team if he pans out for the next 3 years and beyond. But I love the draft class. Jackson, out of USC. I'm a big USC fan. He's going to add a lot of depth to that defensive line. But look at Danny Gray. Yeah, I mean, this wide receiver in the preseason, he's got speed. And that's going to create a lot of room for Kittle and Ayuk and Debo. I mean, Danny Gray is the type of receiver that they need to break out, and I think he's going to have a really good year with Trey Lance's big arm, and that's just going to create so much in the middle of the field. So I just love that move, and Kyle Shanahan knows how to get good receivers. We know that right now. So I'm really excited for Danny Gray.
Okay, nice. Talon, what about you? What's your favorite move that the Niners made?
I'm going to do something I haven't done all night, and I agree with Clint. No. Javarius Ward was a great signing. That was a great signing, and it helps cover up what my least favorite move was of them. So stay tuned.
Okay, perfect. Nice tease. Chad?
Yeah, I mean, it was Ward. I did not want to see the 49ers get a competent quarterback, and they did. And I think that worries me a little bit. That worries me.
Okay, go ahead, Clint.
I forgot to bring it out before with Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. I saw this during the preseason game, and when Jack was talking about Danny Gray, it made me think of it. Since the Niners drafted Trey Lance, he's only played a couple regular season games and in the preseason. He's completed 3 passes that have traveled 50 yards in the air. Jimmy Garoppolo in the last 2 years as a full-time starter completed 1. So I think the difference will be, especially with Brandon Ayuk, is for the first time since the dawn of time of Jimmy Garoppolo, the 49ers are going to throw the ball more than 8 yards down the field. And I may faint every time I watch it, even in the preseason. When I see the ball go and it's out of the camera, I don't know what to do. I think that, it's like the TV's frozen. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. They're throwing it deep. So I'm excited to see that aspect of the offense where they actually throw the ball past, the first down marker.
That's culture shock right there. That's what we call that, culture. Go ahead, Jack.
I just want to add to Clint's point. When I saw Trey Lance's arm, that brought tears to my eyes because you don't know how many games with Jimmy G, you're just wondering, is this going to be a throw to 3 defenders, and is this going to be his pick that he always gets once a game? I mean, so give me a quarterback that can launch it as well. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, at the very least, it will be more fun for you guys to watch your offense for sure. Okay, let's go to least favorite moves. Let's start with you, Jack. Go ahead, give me your least favorite move.
Oh man, my least favorite move. I'm gonna let Clint go with this one first. I
Okay,
got
All right. Well, it's probably going to step on. I saw the smile on Talon's face, so I think it's going to be this one. My least favorite move was extending Deebo Samuel because I literally don't think. Again, same situation. You didn't need to do it. He can't hold out because he needs to collect the service year. And as good as Deebo is, he can't be as good as he was last year. Just he can't hold up to that workload. And I still think they'll hand it to him, not nearly as much, but every other year besides last year, he's been hurt. So to pay some dude, I think he got $22 million a year for, he's good. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't pay AJ Brown. I wouldn't pay Tyreek Hill. I wouldn't pay Devontae Adams, and I wouldn't pay Deebo Samuel $20-something million a year when you can go down the line and draft all these wide receivers that they seem to be popping off of trees that you can get for cheap. George Pickens, the dude looks amazing because he had some injuries in college, and you're going to pay Deebo Samuel or said wide receiver, $20-something million a year and hope that they don't get hurt.
Why did you have to bring Tyreek Hill into this? I don't get it. I don't understand. You gotta be like that. Talon, you got a least favorite move?
Yeah, and Clint, don't worry, you didn't step on my toes. They're all right. They're fine. I agree with you, however. I agree with you again. That's 2 for 2. No, the worst move in my mind was letting Jaquiski Tart walk. Like I don't get it. He dropped the interception in the game that would have sealed it. However, I don't understand the move. I think in the division that we're in and stuff, I think he needed him, especially with their mentality. I think it would only help them. So that was my.
We need Jaquiski Tart to give Matthew Stafford his only Super Bowl of his career.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, it's bad blood for sure. Bad blood for sure. However, I like Tart, and I didn't understand that move. Otherwise, there's not too much bad here. So it's a little bit of a reach, but if I had to pick one, that'd be the one.
Okay, I like it. And you got a reaction from Clint. Like, what are we talking about here? How about you, Chad? What was your least favorite?
I don't think they did a lot of bad moves, personally. One guy that I'm glad to see go is Mostert. That dude was nasty against the Cardinals, and so to see him go, I can't call it a bad move. But I kind of wish the Niners. I mean, if I'm a fan, I would hate to see him go. Now, granted, he did get hurt a lot. He did, but man, when he was on the field, I feared that dude. Being a Cardinals fan, I feared him so much. Him and Kittle, and just I wish I would have re-signed him, but I understand.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, no, I was happy he's a Dolphin, so I was happy they got him, but understanding that he's going to give you about 4 really good weeks, and then that's about it. Like, but he's one of those guys in fantasy that's so enticing because if he's healthy, he's going to put up numbers. Jack, did you have a least favorite move? Go ahead.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted Clint to go first was because I wanted to see if I was the only Niners fan that felt that way, and I felt the same way about Deebo. Unfortunately, just because there is no situation in my mind where this running back room is going to stay healthy, and Deebo is going to run. He's going to run the ball. He's going to be effective, and he's going to get hurt. And you're paying him big money when you could have traded him for a couple picks, and I felt like that was the way to go. But you know what? I love Deebo, but I may hate him at the end of the year.
Go ahead, Chad.
Just a question for the Niners fans. Deebo, I'd heard that he didn't want to be in San Francisco. He wanted to go back on the East Coast. Is that true, or was this just a strategic business move to get a new contract?
Go ahead, Jack.
In the new day and age that we live in, Deebo literally, when he said he didn't want to be on the Niners anymore, took off all his social media of him being in a Niners uniform. and on his Twitter, on his Instagram. He's just, I want to erase that part of my life. And I heard the same rumors that he wanted to be on the East Coast. That's where he wanted to play. And to me, that's kind of a prima donna thing to do. I mean, and I've seen other players do it. So I don't know where his mind's at, because he kind of took a pretty vocal, very, very vocal demands on the team, and now to come back and say everything's great, he's going to get run hard, for that. I think they're going to still run him hard, but the money they gave him is kind of eerie.
Yeah, go ahead, Talon.
Is it possible that they're paying him strictly not for the regular season, but for the playoffs? So they preserve him all season long and then let him run wild during the playoffs when it matters, because that's when it gets hard to stop that guy. And that's where he can just take over a game. And that's what I theorize they're going to do. Those sub clauses in his contract might be there for what he may want. But man, if you can just manage him all season long, keep him healthy, and then unleash him for the playoffs, that's what I feel like they've got planned, because he's a game changer come playoff time.
Well, Clint, go ahead.
Yeah, my thinking would be, I'm sure there's somewhere out east he might have wanted to go. I think a lot of it was, I just want my money. And that's just the new way to go about it. So it is what it is. I agree with Talon. I think whatever the clause is, the minimum carries to get his bonus, the 49ers will make sure he gets there, so he gets that bonus. But I would think, minus high leverage situations or in a close game, that they won't run him much until they need it. And I think the part of the offense they won't change will be the quick balls to Deebo Samuel, so he feels like it. I don't think he can obviously keep up the same numbers, because I do think Brandon Ayuk is going to be the favorite target of Trey Lance, and I think George Kittle is the one that's going to suffer the most. But so I think they'll just work it in there, and they're just going to use it in a big spot. If it's 3rd and 6, you're going to see him in the backfield, or him and another running back to give the illusion of it. But I think it's a playoff thing. They're going to get to the playoffs again, and they're just going to run that dude into the ground all the way through the Super Bowl if that's what it takes.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I also think like maybe Deebo is, and him and his agent and like people around the NFL realize like running backs just don't last in the league anymore. So the more he runs the football, the less his career is going to last. So like the potential earnings now diminish. Like if you're playing running back and wide receiver, how long are you going to last in the NFL? Ask Christian McCaffrey. I mean, like it doesn't, he's the opposite. He's a running back that sometimes play wide receiver. So I think there is some truth. Maybe he didn't want to be a runner, but that's why they incentivize them. So I guess we'll have to see. My least favorite move they made is not trading Jimmy G when he had value, because they overvalued him, I think. And so then they missed out at getting anything for him. And I don't think anyone's going to trade for him. I think he will be cut unless if there's I think preseason's over now. So there's no big injury anymore. So I think they'll be cut. So when Jimmy G had value, they overvalued him and they lost out at a potential asset for him. So that would be my least favorite move they made or didn't make this offseason.
I didn't want to beat a dead horse. I know
I got you back.
Shtick for a while. So I'm like, I'll lay off the Jimmy G, not trading him for a 4th round pick when they had the chance. But
I got you back, Clint. Don't worry about it. I'll beat that dead horse. Okay. Let's go to what will make the 49ers season a success. Why don't you start us off, Jack? What would you say would make a successful season for the 49ers?
What's going to make it successful is Kyle Shanahan being Kyle Shanahan. And basically, I can see Trey Lance being as effective as RG3, but knowing how to slide and be safe as a runner. Trey Lance has the go from his head coach to run the ball as he sees fit. So if Trey Lance can be able to make reads, be able to get Ayuk, in the middle, be able to get Deebo on quick passes. Now Gray going down the field, hit those mans. But when he doesn't see it, take over the game with your legs and run smart. And that's how they're going to have success. And obviously the no-brainer is use Deebo as running back. But you want legitimate long-term success. So make Trey Lance a game manager. And I think Kyle Shanahan can do it.
Okay, I like it, Clint.
It sounds like a low thing, but mine would be get back to the playoffs. I know that sounds like simplistic, but when you overhaul your quarterback and it's his second year and he barely played, even in college, he didn't play that much. So if they can get back to the playoffs and again, look competent, maybe win a game, you feel really good going forward that, okay, this is probably, hopefully this guy's worst year with us. We made it to the playoffs and now we can open up that offense or get some other things cooking going forward.
Okay, just what would you rather have real quick? I'm going to give you two options. Trey Lance, he's a really good quarterback, but you have a down year where you missed the playoffs, or would you want a season where you're not sure what Trey Lance is yet, but you make the playoffs?
A good year. He has a good year and not make the playoffs.
What about you, Jack?
I'd rather him have a bad year and know he's a good quarterback. He's 21 years old. 21 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So if I know he's great and next year he's 22, sign him and let's build around him.
Okay, perfect. I just want to know that. Chad, what about you? What would make the season a success for the Niners? Oh, you're muted. It's okay.
Sorry. I do think getting back to the playoffs, winning their divisional games. They play the Rams. Both of their games against the Rams are before November 1st.
Mm.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. The back half of their schedule is out of division. So I think they've got to make those division games count because I was a little surprised. I was looking at the schedule and I was like, Trey Lance is going to get tossed in the fire pretty quickly. I mean, you got the Chiefs, Rams, Chargers, Cardinals, 49ers, Dolphins and Bucks. That stretch there, we're going to learn a lot about Trey Lance and the 49ers. So if they can get him comfortable in those first couple of games, I think they're going to be tough. But if they've got a good quarterback with Trey and he plays well, hey, I think that's a successful. If he can get back to the playoffs, that's success.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, the Dolphins is part of that gauntlet there, so you guys better watch out. Talon, what about you, man? What do you think is a successful season for the Niners?
I think sweeping the Seahawks. If they can finally sweep the Seahawks and Trey Lance can torment the Seahawks the way Russell Wilson tormented the Niners for the last 9 years, I think. And obviously all the other takes were more spot on, but that's just a fun one for me. I think the Niners finally, wipe their hands clean of the Seahawks and show their dominance for the next decade or so.
That I like that one. Like shots fired. So that's great. Didn't
the Seahawks not score from like the 2-yard line with 0 seconds left on the clock a couple of years ago? Don't you remember that game, which propelled us to the Super Bowl, in which Jimmy Garoppolo can't hit a wide open Emmanuel Sanders? I digress.
That's funny. There was a pass interference call that wasn't called in that game earlier on. If we really want to go down that route,
that's okay.
That.
Is that a Seahawks fan complaining about
back to you, Ryan?
It's good and bloody in here.
I'm gonna have to. Chad, did you have something to say?
No, it was just going to add fuel to the fire there. So, no, I do.
Yeah, no. Okay, yeah, I got to calm the room down. Everybody get to your side of the rings, that kind of stuff. For me, successful season, I was trying to think of what comparison could we have for the Niners going from Jimmy G, getting to the playoffs, getting sort of a deep run into the playoffs versus like what, I thought of the Packers when they went from Favre to Rodgers. They went 13-3 the year before they went to Aaron Rodgers. They went 6-10 the next year, but they knew Aaron Rodgers was going to be that guy. And I think that's what, to me, will make the 49ers season successful. I don't care about the record. I don't care if they make the playoffs. If you know that Trey Lance is your guy for the next 10 to 15 years, any fan would take that over making the playoffs on with an average to below average performance from your quarterback. So to me, I think for the 49ers fan, knowing what you have in Trey Lance, that will make your sixth season a success. Okay. Anything to add? Any additional questions? Go ahead, Jack.
Does it matter if Trey Lance is good or not? And the reason why I ask that is because this is going to be a top 5 defense. Look at the defensive line. Nick Bosa, Armstead, Kinlaw, D Ford. Then you got Fred Warner, Greenlaw, an improved secondary. Look at Womack, the rookie. He looks awesome in preseason. And the addition of Ward. I mean, this is a stacked defense. Does it matter if Trey Lance is good year one? Because I think this is a top 5 defense.
Go ahead, Chad.
Yes, I think it does matter, Jack, because you play some of the best offenses in the league. Kansas City don't care you're a top 5 defense. I mean, your schedule's tough. You're playing some pretty high-powered offenses, and your defense is going to have to show up. I mean, anybody in the NFC West is going to have to show up. So I think you're going to have Trey Lance perform, because the Raiders, the Chargers, there's going to be shootouts, and he's got to perform. So I do think it will matter.
What do you say, Talon?
Well, as he was listing all those players' names, the one that just I didn't hear was Jacquiski Tart, and that's gonna be the Achilles heel. So I'm sorry, but yeah, he's gonna have to perform. Trey Lance is gonna have to be the guy.
Yeah, I kind of think, like, when you think of from season to season, the hardest thing to predict is defense. It is so hard to predict. When you want a great defense is in the playoffs, but in the during the regular season, you want a great offense, because most likely you'll get to the playoff if you have a great offense. But it's because week to week, it's so hard to predict defense. It's because the rules favor the offense. Now, I love the 49ers defense, but I do think it will matter to a point on how well Trey Lance plays. I don't think we can, what was that, 2000 Ravens where you have Trent Dilfer back there in the Ravens, like, offense scoring 10 points and winning every game. I don't think we're in that era anymore. So I think it does matter, but I don't think he has to play, maybe top 15 is good enough, or top 18. He doesn't need to be a top 10 quarterback. Go ahead, Jack.
Because I think he's a shoo-in as a top 15. The reason I asked that question, and I completely agree with Chad, is because you look at the media and they're saying Super Bowl or bust with this kid, because you're giving away Jimmy Garoppolo already took you to the Super Bowl. I don't want 4,000 yards out of Trey year one. I don't even expect him to be a 3,500 yard quarterback and 1,000 yard, running the ball. I just want him to be efficient, and I want them to be able to run the ball like they did. And with that defense, I don't think Trey Lance needs to be what the media is portraying him. He doesn't need to be MVP. I think this coaching and the running game can make him very successful. He doesn't have to be great.
Agreed. Go ahead, Clint.
One, on paper, I think they have a top 5 defense. I don't think they will finish top 5 because, as Chad brought out, their schedule is tough. And some of those teams, unless your pass rush is on for the whole game, some of these teams are just going to put up 28, 35 points, and it's just going to be a high scoring game. So I think they'll probably start out hot because they have the Bears and they have the worst team in the NFL, the Seahawks, in week 2. So you're probably going to look good out the gate. But as Chad brought up, there's a stretch in there where I think it's going to look rough in stretches, and if they have some injuries. So, and anyhow, Jacquiski Tart had a rating of 57.5, which is one of the worst safeties in the NFL. So I'm kind of a fan of the guy, but I literally shed no tears. I was glad they got rid of that bum, and he can go to the Eagles and he can drop another interception for them. I would rather have Hufanga so he can run around and collect block punts in Packer land so they can all cry their way back from Lambeau Field. But anyhow, I think their defense is going to appear a little disappointing in stretches. But come the playoffs, the NFC doesn't have as many high-powered teams. And if you get to the playoffs, I think they'll put a strangle on a lot of these teams, and they'll actually catch an interception to go to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, and the refs let you play defense a little bit more in the playoffs than they do in the regular season. It's funny you said the Bears and then the worst team. I was like, I think the Bears are almost like the worst teams in the NFL if I had to pick today. But, we aren't going to do that because we're going to have a podcast about that. Anyway. Okay, let's go to over and unders. Let's do that. Let's go to over and unders. Let's start with you, Jack. 10 wins is what is predicted for the Niners. Are you going over or under?
I'm going over 11.
Ooh, so you have 2 11-win teams?
Who did I?
No. Oh,
No, I didn't.
No.
Seahawks, I picked 9. Yeah.
I'm thinking of talent.
Or no, not Seahawks. 3 Seahawks, and then who did I pick? Cardinals 9.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. Clint, what about you? What do you got? Over under?
I'm actually going to go with a push. I think they're going to end up right at 10.
You're the second guy to push. I don't like pushes. You got to pick.
Then I'll go over 13 and 4. No, I'll go with 11.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Let's tell him what he got.
11. No, I'm going 12, man. I like this team. I like this team a lot. I've got more faith in them than the Niner faithful over here. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun year to be a Niner fan.
Well, he's right. They got an extra win because Jaquiski Tartt's not on the team anymore.
I was gonna say, even without Tart, you think they'll win 12? Isn't he worth like 3 wins a year?
That was a reach. They had a good offseason. If anything, that was a compliment.
Okay, Chad, what do you got for them?
Under. I'm going 9 wins.
I'm with Chad. I went under. I thought 10. I would have went 10 push, but I'm not a pusher. I don't push things onto people. So I went under because I think it's more likely that they don't hit that 10 than go over that 10. That's how I feel. Oh, Clint's leaving. He's done.
Oh.
Okay.
I hope Matthew Stafford gets hurt now, Brian.
Stop it. So speaking of Matthew Stafford, let's go ahead and talk about the Los Angeles Rams. Thanks so much for watching this clip of NuttieBuddie Sports. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you'd like to listen to the rest of the podcast, click on one of the links down below. And if you want to give us your thoughts on any team in any division, let us know in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we will talk to you guys soon.